New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello, and welcome to Rockin the Love. Oh, that's a beautiful sentence.
Oh, there we are.
Here we are.
You'd think I was producing. I'm Gil, and this is
Robyn.
There we are. We're here with Rockin the Love today on Wednesday, as we are every Wednesday. We're happy to see you all here. Looking forward to a fun show. Rockin the Love's all about the joy of relationship. Who can agree with that?
Well, do tell about the joy of relationship.
It's lovely. See how lovely it is? I knew I could get that to happen. Okay, everybody. So, we're going to talk about our week, right? Let people know what's going on.
Sure.
Okay. How's your week?
Okay, this is the way this is going to go.
What's wrong with it?
Because two can play at this game. All right. My week is good. It's been productive. It's going fast. You know, the thing about September is it rolls into October. And October, November, December just go so fast. So it's busy. It's busy. But we finished up a class we were teaching. We started another class that we were teaching. And we're just busy. But all is well. We've had construction stuff going on at our house. The landlord decided to build a new fence, and it's been a journey with our dogs.
It has been, and they have survived it so far. But it was a touch and go day there last week, and one of them was gone for 4 or 5 hours and kind of freaked us out. But he came back exhausted
And limping,
looking like he had been through the ringer. And then I think he stayed on our bed for about 2 days.
Yeah.
After that, he was like, yeah, no, I don't need to go anywhere.
You know, don't you wish your pets could talk? Like, I really just tell you like what's going on. It would be so interesting to hear what the journey was. But
Right. Really what was going on there.
yeah.
And why, I don't know, it's something about they get out, and then it's like when they come back, they're all excited to see you. Or when you find them, they're all excited you found them. But like, so why did we run away exactly? I don't understand.
But that's like a kid, right?
I guess so.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know what you got till it's gone. The paved paradise.
Yeah. And they, put up a parking lot.
Okay. We're complete on that. All right. So, so it's been a good week. It's been an interesting week. How's your week is good too?
Yep. It's been good. Been all that fun stuff with things going on at the house, walking the dogs every day because they didn't have a backyard. Walking them multiple times a day because they didn't have a backyard. And we did get them out to a dog park, which we really hadn't done in a while. And that was great fun.
That was
a
fun.
lot of fun.
It was probably more exciting when we lived apart.
When we took the dogs out for a while.
No, to talk about our week.
It probably
now
was.
Our week is our week as opposed to when it was mine and your week.
That's
in
true.
Different places. We'll have to rethink that. But anyway, in the meantime, let's get to some good news. This is our segment where we talk about what's good in the world because we need to hear it.
Because
We
we
need to
can.
know, and there's a lot of good stuff going on amidst what may be confusing and chaotic. So, what do you got?
Well, I'll put on my glasses for this so I can be sure that I say things accurately. However, I have a story about some German tourists who were in Africa, and they were in South Africa on holiday,
Mhm.
and they were going on a safari. And so they had to go out to a private game reserve where this was going to happen. So they needed somebody to take them out there because they're in a foreign country, blah, blah, blah. So they needed a ride. And they got a driver who was taking them out. And he happened to mention that he had never been on a safari. And so the tourists bought a ticket for him so that when they got there, they said, okay, come on, you're coming with us. You're not just waiting with the car. And it was the first time he'd ever been on a safari, even though he lived there. And he was so excited and had such a great time. And I just think that is a, a little snapshot of humanity, being human, being loving and caring. So I thought that was a great story.
I love that.
And for them, you know, it turned out to be the highlight of their day was watching him have such a good time.
Well, it's so true, though. I mean, so many times when you do something kind for someone, the enjoyment of just watching them enjoy it is such a gift.
Right, right. I mean, what an interesting. I mean, and we don't. I think people don't think about, you know, the people that are doing the service things in our lives for, you know, things like that. Like, you know, they just sort of become part of the background, part of the furniture, and when we take a moment to remember. And I think we do that not only with that, we do with a lot of things in our lives. If they're not directly related to what we're doing, then somehow we just kind of ignore certain segments. And if we're going to be an inclusive, loving society, we have to shift and realize that everywhere we look is humanity. And every person has feelings and desires and thoughts and all those things.
Yeah, very true. Well, my story is similar in that this is a story about a woman in Virginia who won the lottery.
Mm.
And she won $150,000 on her lottery ticket. And she gave it all away.
Mm.
So she picked her 3 top charities and she gave 50,000 to an Alzheimer's pre-dementia, what do you call it when you're investigating?
Oh, research?
Research.
Uh-huh.
And so that was the first one, and that was important to her because her husband had passed away with dementia. And then she gave the next one to a place called Shalom Farms, which focuses on food for underprivileged families. And then she gave the next one to the next 50,000 to Navy, Army, an organization within that takes
Veterans or?
works with veterans and people in service and does things for their family and all that. But she gave it all away. 50,000 to each charity. You know, because she said that she wanted to give to people that have given to her. So I just, you know,
That's magnanimous,
it's
as one might
magnanimous.
say. Yeah.
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 So,
Wow.
so I thought that was beautiful and very, I don't know, not I can't think of the right word, but not self-centered,
Selfless. Very selfless. And probably more rewarding, probably more rewarding to her than many people have felt when they've kept the money and it's disappeared on them. You know, and they find themselves broke and sad and all this stuff, and they probably haven't had even the same joy in when they had it as she had in giving it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, very Zen, very Buddhist, like just giving it away,
Yeah.
releasing it. And
And knowing that it's going to the good that she's desiring. How great is that?
Yeah. And knowing that every time she reads one of those stories or hears from those organizations that, she's contributed to their success.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we do that all the time in our lives with people, in little ways that we never even think about, is contribute to their success with a kind word or a thought, or it doesn't have to be huge, but we can do it. We can do it in small increments. And I want to welcome Motion. Hi, nice to see you back again. So glad you're here. We're going to take a break and we're going to come back. And when we do, we'll tell you what we're talking about. All right. So we'll see you right back here on New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
What I love about Anton is the community, the people. I get to come here every year and pick up right where I left off with so many wonderful soul-centered friends.
This is our first time here, and I can't tell you the joy I've felt listening to the wonderful words of the people who are teaching us and sharing with us.
I've enjoyed every topic that's been talked about, and I've enjoyed the people. They're knowledgeable, they're loving, and it's a great space to spend a few days for yourself and for others.
You feel the love. It is literally palpable.
Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. Jerry Troyer, Board President of the Affiliated New Thought Network, Anson, speaking to you live and direct from Unity Village outside of Kansas City. We are a beloved spiritual community, and we'd love to have you join us.
So if you're thinking about it and you'd like to have a deep dive into your own soul and connect with others that are doing the same thing, then you might want to consider coming to the Anton Retreat next year in 2025 here at Unity Village. Peace and blessings to you.
Hi, welcome. So we are rocking the love. That's what we're doing right here, right now. And we're glad you're here with us. Thank you so much for being here. Today, what we decided to do was to let AI choose our title, our topic. Our title and our topic.
Indeed. And so we have a title for you today called Awakening Hearts, Amplified Voices. And I think the crux of this, the idea behind this is as we awaken to who we are, to how we fit into this world, how do we then use our voice? And by voice, I don't mean always literally our voice, but our voice of our actions, the voice of our choices, etc., to spread love, to create a more loving world.
Okay, that's a big question, a big topic. We literally just asked AI now. We were going to give you a choice, but he made a choice,
I made a choice.
and that's a good thing. So start us off, buddy.
So, well, first of all, awakening our hearts is I think what many people, most people who are on some kind of spiritual journey are seeking to awaken within. They're seeking to figure out how to connect to who they are. And for instance, we just finished a class with people going over some basic things about how we can choose how we live. We can choose what we think. We can choose whether or not we're going to be the victim or not be the victim, and that kind of thing. And in that process, you begin to look at, well, so why have I made the choices I've made? Where does that come from? What's that about? And as we open our hearts and learn more about that, we find ourselves being more compassionate and more understanding of others. And I think that's kind of what this is about, as we find the truth of how love resides within us and how we are, how the creator of the universe has fashioned us, if you will, then that we are of the same thing, the same stuff of that all things are made of. That with that connection, we begin to ask questions like, wow, is that really okay over there? How can I serve in that situation? What could I bring to that situation that would alleviate some pain? Whatever that thing is. And I think then as we do that, we amplify our voice in the world. We become more vocal in our actions, in our literal voice, in our in the kinds of ways we spend our money, the ways the things we do for work.
The choices we make.
The choices we make. Thank you. That was shorter.
Well, yeah. Well, so I hear all that you've said, and it brings up a question for me that I was focusing on during the fall equinox celebration that I facilitated with some friends. And my question and talk was about what if you had made this agreement before you got here that, whatever your purpose is, whatever your mission is, whatever your heart's desire is, what if you had made the agreement that you were going to fulfill that because you knew that was yours to do and that you would be safe and that that no matter what the obstacles were, that's what you were here to do, and what if we create those obstacles along the way? Like what if we had that agreement before we got here? And it just reminds me when you're talking about awakening and using your gifts and your power, because I think awakening is a tricky thing. Like, well, it's like what we do every day. We go to sleep and we get up again and we awaken, we wake up, but it's like, we keep going back and forth, right? It's not like we're awakened on the whole journey.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just putting those two thoughts together, thinking, you know, what if that's when I'm my most awake or awakened, is when I'm clear about what I'm doing and I'm on purpose and I'm, you know, fulfilling the thing.
So yeah. Yeah, well, something I was thinking about when you said that, are you thinking about, that sort of idea of making soul agreements before we arrive, kind of thing,
Kind of.
but maybe different a little bit.
Well, kind of like, yeah, kind of. I mean, so I always remember when I went to the psychic when I was like 20s, and she told me, I was talking about, you know, a boy, and she told me, when your soul, your spirit was being birthed, it's like people sat around the table and all decided what roles they were going to play in teaching you whatever lessons and all of that in your life. And I always think about that, like what if we really did sit around and go, yeah, I'll take creativity. Take creativity for 100. No, but what if we really did choose, like, you know, yeah, this lifetime, I don't want to, I want to be more, what do you call it? Smart, technical, like,
Intelligent,
yeah, more academic as opposed to being a creative, you know, or I want to be an athlete, or I want, you know, what if we really chose and then went out and fulfilled that?
yes. And what I was thinking was, then in that situation, do we ever choose to, do we ever get a role that is what others might call a negative role, where our job is to agitate someone or show them that they're more than what they think because they live through the pain that we caused them, or you know what I mean? Um, I think that, because then I go, how does that fit in with awakening our hearts and amplifying our voice? Because is that really from my heart, or is that, or can I move that back to my heart because it's what I agreed to? You know what I'm saying?
I think so.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, it all goes back to a workshop we were a part of this weekend. Like, are you living from your core values? You know, so we did a workshop where you had to pick your top 10 core values that are yours, personal. And then you got rid of 5 of them. And then, you know, you focused on the 5, and the conversation was around, are you living from those values? And I think, I don't know. So if I'm understanding what you're saying, my question would be, can you live from the values of kindness and love and equity or integrity, or, you know, playfulness or creativity or intuitiveness? I mean, it could be anything, but are you living through those values when you do whatever?
So is my value of integrity connected to my soul connection, or is it connected to the appearance of what is happening right here and now in this life? That's what I was kind of going at. You know what I mean? My loyalty or my integrity, where does it, is it possible that I could be seen as the bad guy because of what I've done or how I've shown up in someone's life, but I was acting in integrity with the commitment that I made?
Yeah, I think it's possible because everybody's seeing you through their lens.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of the matter is, can you stand in that?
Right. And that's where I would have trouble, frankly, because that feels, I would feel like I was out of integrity somehow.
Well, but that's a good, I mean, that's a good question, or whatever situation to ponder, because, like, what is it that takes you away from knowing the truth of who you are? You know, if the truth of who you are is all of those qualities that I just said, then, and you know that that's what you how you acted, then nobody should be able to throw you off that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And again, it's like, you know, because then it becomes, where are we looking from? You know, if I'm not sure who I am, then I'm searching out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, I have to know in all moments that God is right here. God is in what I do, who I am, everything I do, you know? And I mean, and that's not always easy.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm almost re-looking at it and thinking perhaps, you know, standing in a particular space of truth or calling someone, you're calling to someone's attention the truth of what's happening, even though they don't see it as their truth, but calling the facts forward and saying, this is really what's happening here. And that may be construed by people as being very mean or whatever. But in reality, it's the thing that's required to push someone to realize they need to, they get to learn a lesson to up level their life. You know, so maybe it's not that I have to do something quote evil. I just have to do, someone has to be in their integrity and be willing to risk whatever it is of their own that they're risking in order to offer to someone else what will ultimately be for their good.
So you're in tricky territory, I think.
Turkey territory?
No,
Tricky.
yeah.
Okay.
You're in tricky territory because I hear you saying that, and that to me calls to, it sounds as if you're coming from a place of being right.
Mm.
And so, you know, when you say it will be a good lesson for them, I would think the thing is, how can this be a good lesson for all? Because it's very, you know, it's like we used to talk about in different church situations when they were like, well, if they align with us, you know, we have to make sure this, and this, because we, you know, and they saw themselves as the giver, whereas they didn't see themselves as able to receive beneficial things from other places. So it's like, is it about standing in our truth? Does that always mean knowing what is right? I don't know that it does. Or does it mean opening up and being available to the highest and best possibility?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think you're right on that. I mean, I think it's a, anytime we are dealing with living from our awakened heart, I think the question is, are we truly awakened, or are we feeling superior? Are we feeling more knowledgeable? Are we feeling like, oh, I've got this, you know? And so since so and so doesn't really have it, I'll try to show them the way, you know. And I think that's the danger, if you will, of this concept is that we begin to believe that because I'm understanding myself better, I am better than someone else, because they obviously don't understand themselves as well, in my judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't mean that they don't. It just means I think they don't. Right?
Yeah, and I think it's a, you know, I think that this journey we're on is a continual journey of um, letting go and being open to the moment. And really, if we're going to do what everybody says, it's like, you know, be in the moment and live each moment new and all those lovely cliches. It's like, really, how do you make each moment? You know, how do you stand, you know, willing to surrender to each moment and what it may bring up? It's work. It's work. It's not you know, because we do think we know, and we know a lot, and we know nothing, all at the same time.
Yes, there is that place within us that knows. But I think in the human sense, what we think knowing means and what knowing is are two different things.
Okay, give me a minute to process that. Say that again.
What we think knowing is, what we think to know means, and what knowing really is are two different things. So we think me, we tend to think that knowing, if I know something, then I have the answer and I know what's right. That's knowing, that's knowledge. I have the knowledge. I know A equals B equals C.
Yeah.
And perhaps the real meaning of having all the knowing in us is we have the understanding of the breadth of the universe and the breadth of possibility and all of these things. And we don't necessarily know where every nail is. We know what the project's going to look like. We have a feel for what the project is, but we don't know exactly how it all fits or how things are going to come into it to make it come forth. That is going to come in different ways, shapes, and forms from different places and different people. But when we think we know that it has to be done this way. It needs to look like this, and that's what it is. Because I know. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I mean, it would be interesting. I mean, I'm thinking about like big concepts like, you know, Disneyland or Disney World, or people that have, or Apple, or, you know, big companies like, you know, Steve Jobs in his garage. Did he know? No, you know, he didn't know. I mean, on some level, he knew that there was amazing potential and whatever. But like, had he held on to it looking one way, who knows what would have happened? Or Walt Disney, you know?
And I'm going to guess at some level, if folks in those kind of positions had held on really tightly to what they were seeing and wanting, it would be very difficult to find people to help create that, because they would need creative people to do it, and creative people are going to have ideas.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And those ideas ultimately are going to contribute to the value of what's being created. And in order to reach the pinnacle, to reach the level at which, you know, a Disneyland or a company called Apple can reach, it has to have a whole lot of input of creativity. You know, I'm pretty sure that not one person could have sat down and thought of all the different ways that an iPhone might serve people. You know, and I mean, and we know that's true because even Apple doesn't think of all the ways an iPhone can serve people, because then aftermarket apps and other people come up with ideas and create things that work on an Apple and allow it to do things that no one ever thought of.
Right.
Right?
Right. So back to what we're talking about. I mean, so that brings it to how do you stay open and clear
How do you stay open and clear?
to create, to get to what you're trying to get to fulfill your purpose, to whatever.
Well, I think that as we lean in, if you will, as we anchor our hearts, as we allow our hearts to awaken and to widen, to be able to receive more, then we are in a position where what we offer to the world can be better received because our heart is open, and though there we're able to speak into the world in some way that speaks into others as their hearts are opening. Because we can't, well, there's a thing called spiritual bypass where people say some spiritual platitude to sort of cover up whatever they're feeling or whatever's happening in a situation, to sort of go from, well, you know, this happened and it sucks, but it's all good. Nothing's wrong. You know, and we move right over whatever it is. And I think the same thing is true with awakening one's heart. Is we have the opportunity to truly do that and do the hard work and really look at where the pains have been in our lives and how we have moved through them and what we can do to not act them out on others and whatever that is. Or we can sort of be goal oriented, if you will, and be more concerned about getting somewhere that somebody can say, oh, look, they have an awakened heart. You know, that kind of idea. I'm not expressing it well, but I'm in this place of feeling like it's about honesty with oneself and about honesty with what's going on. And I guess the closest thing I can relate it to for me is when you see, when you hear somebody sing a song or you see an actor playing a role and you don't believe them. And technically speaking, they are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing in a way. I mean, like the musician may be playing the music very well. The actor may be in certain aspects of the acting doing a really great job, but it's as if they've skipped over the hard part, so that there's not any depth under it. Right? Or maybe they, you know, so that they can get to the place that says, they're a singer, they played this part, whatever it is. But the reality is they didn't embody it. Maybe that's the word.
Yeah. And again, I think for me, it comes back to, I mean, you're talking about authenticity on some level, and the connection to what you're singing or saying or doing. And I think that, you know, it comes back to, how are you incorporating your values? How are you incorporating your core truths? You know, how are you being? You know, it's the difference between doing and being, you know. So I can read something and have it be moving and meaningful just because I'm reading it and by the words that I'm saying. And if I'm acting, I take the time to embody it and what it really means to me and infuse that into the way I'm reading, which is a different thing. You know, so it's like when we talk about awakening and using our gifts and our voice to spread love, to be a beneficial presence on the planet, how are we doing that? You know, how are we being that? How do we show up and be that? Does that make sense?
And when you said something about values, it took me to that place of, you know, when we talk about our values, we also have to look honestly at, not only am I expressing my values, or by what I'm expressing, what values am I stating? You know, because I think sometimes we think, oh, well, we can state our values right here And that's what our values are. Well, our values are expressed though through our lives, through what we do. And so if my real value is I want people to think I'm cool, that I'm nice, then the way I show up is different than if my value is to love other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would be very nice. It would be all these things, but it wouldn't necessarily. It wouldn't be about. It wouldn't be about really showing up in integrity and love for someone. It would be in showing up in a way that I think will make them like me.
Right. And much like, when we vision, when we do the Michael Beckwith way of visioning, or we allow spirit to come through us, we don't say, here's what I think, because it's something that's come through. So if you find yourself saying, I want people to think I am, that's probably not your value. It's not a value of kindness or goodness or love, so to speak. Not that they can't all be there, but it's really probably, a different, I don't know. I'd have to think about what value would embody that needing to be seen, showiness, right? If there is one. And not that it's bad, but I think, so do you mind if we go to something personal?
Oh God, I can't.
I mean, because I just want to make this practical.
Yeah,
So,
makes sense.
so this morning you got up and you weren't in a good mood and you were upset about whatever. And the way that you expressed that to me, or didn't express it, either way you look at it, like I would ask you, did you embody your core values?
No.
And so, like, I think it's in those moments that maybe the most challenging moments that we have to go to that concept, because like what I know is that even though I wanted to be upset and cry and not understand why you weren't feeling good and what did I do, even though I didn't do anything per se, but you were edgy and anxious and not that you were even bad, it's just you couldn't express. And I took it on as whatever I take things on as. And, but I tried to stay in a place of, okay, it just need to be loved, even though all I wanted to do was cry and be loved. But, so what I'm asking is, how did we make it practical when we're talking about really awakening and using that power, using our voice, using our beingness to spread love? Because, we're not going to spread love to the greater place if we can't do it to ourselves and to our primary relationships.
Well, I think one of the things that has to happen there is, or that can happen, is that's one of those points of potentially awakening the heart and realizing, oh, this is something I need to look at. Why this shows up and that I then respond in this way to it, and I express myself in a way that's clear in a certain way, but not really expressing what I need to express. It's just expressing the symptom of it,
Right. The clarity is that there's a problem.
Right.
And
In that respect, it's a clear communication, but otherwise,
let me be clear. You were super clear. Let me be clear. Your emotions, there was a problem. And it wasn't, it's not that we fought or anything. It's not anything horrible. It's just that there was nowhere to go. There was, for me anyway, it seemed as if there was no way to support you getting out of it, because you were not open to love.
not at all.
You were very committed to closure. you know? And so how does one take a step from that place?
Well, I mean, you can look at it from both sides. I mean, to me, for you, person on the outside of that particular thing, on the other side of that, you know, the how does one show up in love? And it may be just to let it be and not step into the middle of it, not not try to make it better, not try to do any of those things, because as you said, I wasn't ready. I couldn't take it right then. I didn't want it. Was that me acting in a, you know, particularly a mature way? No. I mean, was I really aware and awakened to what my heart wants and needs? No. But in the moment, it didn't matter. It wasn't going to change it. And really loving me was allowing me to just find my way out of it. You know,
Yeah. So
I'm just throwing it out that it's like it's both sides. You know, and you stepped into that place of being loved. For you, it didn't necessarily feel like that, but you were willing to do it.
no, that's not true. It did feel like that. It did feel like I stepped into the place of being loved. What it didn't feel like was that I got a response that I either wanted or that I knew was making a difference, because there was no sign. There's no sign. And I think it's very different. Well, I'm going to say, I know it's very different for you and me, whether that's a man and woman thing or different archetypes or whatever it is. But I mean, that would not be my story, what you just said, because you said, you know, no matter what, it wasn't going to make a difference. And that's not true for me, because if someone steps in and does the right thing, it makes a difference. For me, if someone steps in and is that place of love or reason or whatever the situation is, I mean, it's hard to say without a situation, but it shifts for me. See, because this is just what I know about myself. I have little investment in being stuck or in being in the same place. Some people do. Some people like to be there and linger in the sadness or the drama or the trauma or whatever. And that's not bad. It's just we all process different. I don't like to be in that. And I'm like, if you can get me out of that, I'm game. Let's go. You know, and I think, again, no judgment about it, but you are more comfortable being there. You have made that a comfortable place for yourself sometimes, you know, and maybe it's your way of getting space or whatever. And I think it's so intricate because I think we're all different. But I think the bottom line to it is staying true to who you are, staying true to who I am. And so for me, I knew that if I could just step away and be loved for myself and for you, for myself, because I was hurting too, because it hurts when you're in pain, you know. But if I could just stay in that, you know, and go to for agreements and it's not personal, you know, just try to believe it's not personal, then that's helpful for me.
Yeah, thank you. And it's hard to be in a position where there doesn't seem to be a way to go in a direction that feels like what needs to happen.
And is that the truth?
Is it the truth that I can't do it, or is it the truth that it feels as if I can't do it?
Is it the truth that there is no, what did you say? Space for it to happen?
That 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 I'm not in a place to move in the direction of what I can see needs to happen.
Right. Right. So is that the truth? And that's a longer conversation, so you don't even have to answer. But I mean, is that the truth? Because I go to, well, if you can see it, then you can be it. If it's up for healing. All those things that we say. And truly, I know this is way out there. This is way woo-woo, but if there's no time and space, then the time is now. It's here to be healed, and this time is now. There doesn't need to be like this long lag time and processing. I know sometimes there does. And that's when we have to acknowledge that. And again, I go to different ways of processing. Stay true to what one needs.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that where the heart opens ultimately is when we take the time to reconsider those types of moments, to reconsider what happened, and to look at what our choices really may have been and what we would have had to have decided in order to make those choices, that kind of thing.
Good point.
Right? I mean, because that feeling of not being able to is real.
Mhm.
So I can't go around and decide that I or anyone else that has that feeling is bad because they had the feeling,
Nope. You
right?
can't. No, very true.
And is it the truth? Technically, no, it's not the truth, but it was the truth in that moment for me. And why? What was it that made it true for me? What thought, what belief, what experience made it true for me?
Yeah, and again, I think that when that happens, there's a place where we need to go and ask, what do I get from this situation? And maybe it's just that you needed alone time. Maybe you really needed more sleep, like you said. Maybe you needed, okay, well, how do I adjust and make that happen the next time so that it doesn't have to be like this? Such a good question. So how do we stay in integrity and true to ourselves? I think that's the key to awakening the love, is being true to yourself. And then you're able to turn it around and shine it out.
Mm.
So that's what we got for you today. So you know how important it is to rock the love everywhere and in every situation, and just making a difference in the world. And we know that you do that. And we invite you to do that right here on New Thought Media Network. If you're moved to donate or to share a little financial love with us, we are open and willing and ready to receive, because we want to continue to do great things out in the world. And we want great people like our producer, Michael Mangus, saying yes to being here and getting rewarded healthily for that, as well as everybody else who puts in their time and effort at New Thought Media Network. So send love any way you can. We'll take it. And keep on shining it out in the world. We love you, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Rock the love.